Hello guys, I am just trying to get my camera set up. Give me 1 second. Hello! Yeah, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden my cameras decided not to be where they're supposed to be. So give me 1 sec while I try to get my... Oh, that's probably why, because it's not plugged in. Sorry, I am just failing at life today, but that's okay. Alright, get my camera set up. I think I got too excited and whoops, didn't get my camera set up. Hey! I don't know what that was. No idea what that was. Alright. I'm just trying to get my webcam set up. It doesn't want to work. Of course, right? When I finally need to use my webcam. Nope, wrong one. No idea. I think so too. Configure video. Oh man, I'm sorry guys. Yay, that's the wrong one though. Yay, it's working! Okay, cool. Yep. Awesome sauce. Nope, and now this one's not working. Oh my gosh. That is a great picture of me. I love it. Yay! I figured it out. So, finally, that's okay. It gives everybody, hey! Yay, my chat's working too. Woo! So, today I'm excited because I'm going to teach you guys how to make some Mimic cups. And I got all my electronics situated, so we are good. I don't think I need my face camera to be this big. So, what I wanted to do, and my cup is right here, is obviously making resin and everything like I mentioned. This is water in it, which is why I'm not using this bottom camera. Hey! Resin is its own beast. And that's something that I won't be able to do right now. If it's something you guys really want to see on how to do, I can show it to you guys. But right now we're really working on the clay aspect of it. And kind of what tools, basic things. And then again, based off of what you guys are looking for, we can always expand and come up with some new ones. I might even next time start with something a little bit easier, like the little monster dice holder things. But yeah, figured we will start with, I'm making 2 for 2 people today. If we get through it, I have no idea how long this is going to take. So if Fred is on, I do know what he wanted, kind of. So figured I'll show you guys real quick what it is, how I do it, and then afterwards, no, thank you. Afterwards, you guys can kind of give me some direction. I did just realize I need something real quick. Sorry, my dog's like, oh, hi, you're talking to me. One moment. I forgot my plastic sheet. It is very helpful anytime you're working with clay to put it on something plastic because it makes it easier pulling it up and you don't lose all your details. So, first thing I always start with is the eyes, because the teeth and the tongue is pretty standard, and this is what's going to determine how much area that you're going to do. So I usually have it take up less, like about 1/3. Obviously, if you want a really like big eyeball, small, that's up to you. But that's where I start. So, and you might laugh again at the process, but it works. I use this, I don't know which camera to use, for my clay. You could roll it by hand. I've done it, and it took so long that I eventually was like, this is like $25. Totally worth it. Saves me a ton of time. But again, you can do it by hand. Totally fine. I use, for these ones, Sculpey clay. You can really get it anywhere. This one was $19. And Hobby Lobby, everywhere else. It is extremely hard, so I do have some that I've already conditioned, which is basically making it softer. But as you can tell, when I go into this one, it's going to be a lot firmer, and it takes a little bit, which is also why this machine helps, because it does condition it a little easier. Have any of you worked with Sculpey clay before? Or I guess if not, what other clay have you used? And I like Sculpey clay. You just put it in the oven, and it's done. There's no wait time. You literally can make it and cook it right away. You cook it at 275, and that's it. You have your your beautiful artwork. I usually, if you end up getting one of these, there's a little lever. I usually leave it at 9 first, because it makes it so the hole in the middle is a lot smaller, and it makes it easier to shove your clay in there and precondition it. This one does have a clamp to it as well, but I don't know, I'm usually like doing this in the living room or in the kitchen or on my desk, so I don't ever clamp it down. But so usually you can just stick it through a couple times. Again, when you're preconditioning it, this one has been done, so you can tell it's already really soft. So what I do, again, there's no right or wrong way to do this, but I do it through, this thing falls out a lot, sorry. Put it through a couple times, and now I'm gonna just jump straight to the smallest setting and take the thinner side, and obviously I'm gonna stick it through, and it's gonna get super long and really thin, but it's just my basis, so I can figure out exactly where and how I'm gonna build this. And again, always put it on your plastic sheet, because there's nothing worse than coming up with your beautiful creation and then having to rip it off the table because you have no other way of getting it out or off the table. So again, as you can see, like kind of through here, it is super thin. You never want to cook it like this because it will break right away. So even though as strong as this is too thin, but it helps me position the eyes. So I'm gonna go actually with let me see, Yeffer. I'm gonna do hers first because I know what she wants already, so it makes it easier for me to show you guys. So I always have the cups, that's why it's like super dirty. It's my clay cup, and later on this is what I will put the face on to figure out where I want everything. But I've done it enough. Otherwise, I would highly suggest getting a metal version of whatever you're going to do, because you're going to stick it in the oven and it has to have something to actually sit on when it cooks. So in her case, and so if you see me looking at my phone, it's because I already know what she wants and how she wants it to look. So I am going to use for her these eyes. So these are the ones that she was wanting. And again, once we get through this, you guys can be like, oh, I like this, but change this. And then that way we can kind of figure it out. But, so, a lot of times I just kind of just wing it and see, like, spacing. I'm going to make sure, like, I'm putting this on camera right. And I'm going to look down a lot because you guys don't need to watch me watch you, right? And I have a lot of different eyes. You can get them anywhere. You can make them, and I figured maybe if you guys are interested. Did you sand the cup? No. So, luckily this clay does not stick. Well, I don't know if that's luckily, but it will not stick to metal. So when and I'll show you later when I put it on here, it will cook to it a little bit. And what I do is wait till it's cool enough that I can touch it, and I gently pull it off, and that way it stays actually that shape. And it will stay warm for a little bit, so it's still a little pliable. But then once it's cool, it's good to go. And especially, again, because we're gluing it on the cup and putting resin over it, with the resin on there, this thing is super, super durable. You did. We're trouble. You guys are always trouble. Alright, so again, I'm just looking at a version that she was, that the client, the client was wanting. So I'm just kind of positioning the eyes, and once I do that, I can show you guys. But really, there's no, you can do it however you want to set it up. I'm really bad at, like, looking up, hey! Looking up at the chat and everything. I will try my best. Alright. So don't laugh at me. No one's perfect. Alright. So, and again, because most eyes, as you can imagine, you have your eyelids and everything. So I need to make sure that there's enough spacing, but it's not too crowded. Again, when you're making your own cup, you kind of know what you want. And I'll have to be honest, obviously I do custom orders, but going just from your creativity makes it so much easier, because there's no wrong way. You're just kind of going with it. So but this is one I came up with before, and I do like it. Alright. Sorry. Feel free, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat. You guys can also, there's so many different tools you can use. You don't have to use, like, I never started off with all of the things that I have now, so there's always substitutes for everything, which is why I like doing this, because you can ask, and I can tell you what I used initially and how I got to where I'm at now. Alright, so say, yes, for me, I like the eyes where they are. I think they suit what we were going for. So, this is going to look really weird, and you have to trust the process, okay? I promise. So, first thing, if any of you have ever seen Ace of Clay, he's one of my inspirations. He's kind of why I started with clay. And they call these snakes of clay. But it's basically just making little snakes. And these are going to be the eyelids. So you want to obviously think of size. For the bigger eyes, you're going to use much bigger. Let me make sure you can see. If you need me to zoom in, let me know. I can move this down. Bigger chunks, because obviously the bigger eyes are going to need more to hold them down. And then the little ones, we will use super tiny ones. I'm going to move you down just a little. Perfect. Alright. So, I would not recommend just going through and making a whole circle, because just like your eyelids, you're naturally going to have the creases in the middle. And you do see that, I think, on the eyes, or at least I feel like you do. So I make it a point, even though it'd be easier just to do one giant snake, so to speak, I always rip it and then add a second one. And again, just make the little eyes. Has anybody wanted to make a cup of at all? Is this something, I mean, I know obviously you're on here for a reason, but you know, it's always cool to see if anybody ends up wanting to make it, and then, you know, does. It's really cool to see. Sorry, I'm just making sure you guys can still see. Again, it does not have to be perfect. I don't think I said that yet, but you're going to be mashing it and moving everything around. So as long as you get the basic, I don't know, layout, then you'll see later what I do, and you're not gonna notice it anyways. I'm gonna move my chat down just to see your something. Take it cut off. Oh yeah, your process. Thanks. I don't know why it's not like auto going down. Looking to experiment. We saw this carpet creator. I know. And that would, I don't know why it's like not showing up. That would be, and that's all that popped up. The carpet creators, like the people that put in all the yarn and they like come up with their own. Is that what you mean, G baby? So as you can see, I'm using slightly smaller ones now. Even if you end up with like giant fat eyelids, it's okay. We're gonna be like smoothing it out anyways. You don't need to see my face. That's okay. I'll hide behind this camera. I feel like I should be rushing, but I don't know. I want to show you guys that like process is real. Things take time. It's okay. I have the hardest time with like quiet, and the fact that there's like nobody else here talking. It's always a little nerve-wracking. That's okay. Yeah, those, my husband can contest this. I have too many hobbies. And I saw that carpet creator and stupid promotion people. I like fully wanted to commit and buy one of those carpet makers. I thought that was so cool. I have yet to do it because I have too many cool toys already. And yeah. So. But maybe that's something we could always learn together. The tools aren't that expensive. I did look them up. I think it's just more, it's very tedious. Like, they make it look super easy online, but on the videos and stuff. Alright. Eyes are done. Looks super, like, basic. But I promise you, again, it'll start looking like something. So what I do now is I'm going to move this guy. See, again, plastic comes in handy. You can move it anywhere. I leave it at the very thin. You can make it thicker. Sorry, I have allergies today. And if you are not going to be using resin, you need to have a thicker clay, because it will break. Like, usually you want to have it, when I make my books, for example, I normally do at least a 4 to a 7, because you have to imagine, like, the thicker it is, like, people are going to be banging up against it and stuff. So, but for the cups, again, it's going to be completely covered in resin, and resin is extremely thick and strong, so sturdy. So, again, I'm doing it on the lowest setting. It is quite thin, but that's okay. And then, this is going to look weird, but again, I promise, just trust it. You're just going to take small pieces, and usually there's a specific size to whatever you rip off, and I try to make it so it folds against one of the eyes, for example. And I'm going to be making really weird looking scales almost on this. And yes, I could have just made the clay thicker. Yes, you know, I could not cut this into a trillion pieces, but I second guess my texturing a lot, and I feel like sometimes that's just a really difficult skill sometimes to get, especially if you don't have like certain tools. So when I do this, you'll notice later when I'm smoothing it out, it gives the Mimic almost a natural skin texture, scaly, like, and it just looks cool in my opinion. So I like using this like piece together method, and I literally, like, there's no elegance to it. I just take a piece and shove it in there, and if it overlaps, totally fine. Again, it adds to the realization of, like, your skin is not going to be completely flat or smooth. We all have, just like monsters, they're imperfect too. So, yep, you just want to make sure that it's all covered. At least, again, especially if you're not going to be using resin, you have to have that thickness. And so, it might not look pretty, but it works. And again, if you guys need me to zoom in, let me know. It will look super Frankenstein-y. It'll look a little weird, but again, trust the process. And if you have like here, I have some really little pieces. I'll just like fold it in half and make like a little, I don't know, snake, and I just shove it in there. So it's not super specific on how you have to put this in here. This isn't like a mechanical thing. So you probably could even put like some circles in here, or like some odd shapes if you wanted to, but I usually just stick with the flat ones. And just make sure I cover, I don't know, a couple millimeters away from the eye. I usually don't go super far from the actual eye itself, so I don't need a lot. But if you, for example, this here might be a little close, I'll see when I start cutting it out, and if I need to add more, again, it's very forgiving. It's not cooked, so that's the best part. Alrighty. Would you guys be interested in more clay videos, like how to, like, I'm sorry if this is like irritating anybody. Like videos like this. I was considering doing some miniature painting, though I'm not the best at it. I feel like sometimes it's nice to see people who are not like phenomenal at these things. But move my phone, move this guy. So I ran out, so I'm gonna take another little piece. Sorry, I keep like checking the chat, making sure I'm not missing anybody. Again, I did it at the thinnest setting. Don't fall. Okay. When you go to a store and get the clay, there are so many different types. This is just your plain, what did I just say? Yeah, super Sculpey. There is like a doll Sculpey too, which is more flexible. Again, if you're going to put resin on it, why pay the extra money? Get the Sculpt, like the, oops, I grabbed the wrong one. The, like, what did I say? The pliable version. It really just depends on you, but they do look different when you cook them. But yeah, you can always see, I didn't even notice, like when I was buying my teeth clay, which is what I use, there's Sculpey 3 and then there's Primo. The how like specifically the differences, I don't think I could tell you. I think Primo is usually a little, no, Sculpey is actually softer, so I don't know exactly the difference. They work almost the same to me, so go with whatever's on sale. Alright, I am now a couple millimeters around the whole thing, so I feel like I'm done. So what I'm going to do now is scroll down, maybe full video uploads for people that can't make it. Yes, I will definitely do that. I think this saves automatically on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, so I will post it on there. And then that way people can kind of like scroll through. I like it because now if you guys, like maybe next time we do a monster one, I'll tell you exactly what to get, and then we can do them at the same time, and that way you guys can ask questions. Alright, so first thing I do is, you could use any type of tool, but and I didn't even grab the right one. One moment, please. I have like a whole thing of it. I love these like little, oops, rubber tools. They work super well. They have different softnesses, I guess. So some of them are going to be really, what's the word? I'm thinking of the Dutch word. Stiff. There you go. So then you can push harder. I like got a really soft one and didn't realize it, and I was just pushing and I snapped it. So you have to pay attention to that. But yeah, these are the ones I use. I got them for Christmas, I believe, last year or something. Sorry, it's not really. But I always use this one, the little sharp edged one, for 99% of everything I do. So for this, you can use your finger And I always start with the eyes first. Why? I don't know. I feel like it's going to encroach on the rest of it. So, and here I will zoom down a little bit so you guys can see. Sorry. This camera's just going to be in the way, but that's totally fine. Alright. So, I just push down a little bit on all of the sides, and it will really quickly start looking like an eye. I would not go crazy because then you'll have to like push more of the clay up. And if this is not close enough, let me know. So I just do a little bit just until you can see like an eye form, and I feel like I have chunky fingers when there's like tiny little things, so I like using this. And I just push down. You basically just want to get like the shape of the eyeball. You don't have to go crazy because right now we're just visualizing, like we're going to this one, like kind of what this guy's gonna look like. And again, this isn't like, I feel like this isn't like a painting class. Sorry, my light turned off. You know, monsters is one reason I love them, is they're very abstract. So you don't have to worry if it's exactly perfect, because there's no such thing. Monsters are very imperfect, and that's what's like super cool about making these. I'm teaching you guys my secrets that really I expect everything to be super perfect, and monsters aren't, so I'm okay with that. The little ones, same thing. They're just really little, so you don't want to pull too hard because again they're super tiny. So we're just pushing down a little bit. Can everybody see okay? And again, you're just, if you got some chunky eyes, that's totally fine. Just push them down. Alrighty. And then again, like this one kind of got really thin, so I'm just gonna push. I'm gonna push down over here, and we can always push back up a little bit to get its shape again. This clay does not dry. I did not mention that. So I don't know how many times I've worked on a project and I'm like, oh man, I gotta go do something. It just sits here, and that's fine because it will not dry. Sometimes if you leave like something like this out for a long period of time, it will harden, but it will not dry. It's like for you. So can you describe what the process is like for you? Does it feel like you are unearthing your newest monster? I don't know why like it does not pull up everything you guys say. I am a perfectionist. So for me personally, it's really hard to go in with expectations of what it needs to look like, because if it does not meet those expectations, then I'm not happy with it. So a lot of the times I love the process when if I start making it and I don't like it, it's not cooked yet. So I can move the eyes around, I can change things, I can add things, and that for me is comforting. And that's why it's so great for beginners, because until you cook it, you can keep changing it. There's really nothing, like, there's no obstacles, there's no commitment, I guess. And so I don't know, like for me, even now, I'm like, oh, I can see how he's going to like turn out, and I'm gonna move this so you guys can see it a little bit. So where's the beginning of it? So I'm like so bad. Okay, so as you can kind of see, and again with the lighting, like even though this is not smoothed out at all, I feel like in my vision I can already start seeing scales. I can already start seeing imperfections and like little warts or lines or scar lines or something. And so I use the abstract of like just having these scales. I'm still trying to figure out where the heck the camera is. Okay. to map out what I want to do, where I want to push everything. So at this point, I've done the eyes enough where I'm like, okay, I can keep going. And as you can see here, again, I'm going to be so bad at this, I'm sorry. Where the two, come on, zoom in, be clear. Where the two pieces of clay is, it naturally has this line. And I usually try to keep them that way because I feel like it makes it look like an eye. And so usually you can see some spacing, so I'll push it a little bit more together so the eye stays in there, because as you know, it's not glued in. It's simply held in there by the clay. If we were not using resin, I'd probably glue it in or put some liquid Sculpey in the back. But yeah, that's it. So I do like having all of those creases. And now, again, super easy process, guys. Just take my tool and I roll it very gently over the creases. I don't want giant chunks here, so there is one, so I'm going to just push a little harder and just push it toward the eyelid, and I just slowly start taking out all those lines. And this is what I was saying, even though it looked really weird, this guy is now getting his imperfect like face, his you know, like all of our like, you know, pores, and just it's looking more natural. I always think of like an alligator or something. And I just go over any areas that are just too big, that seem unreal, unnatural. I can rub with my finger and push it down, but I generally just like the way this tool works. I feel like sometimes I'll wipe away too much with my finger. Where the clay meets the two pieces, I'll make sure to rub a little bit more. You can also use this tool and do this. So again, it's really just what works best for you. For me, rolling it works really well. If you like a Frankenstein type look, you can even, and I've done it in some of my books, which I just went to a market today, which is why I'm still in my work clothes. But a lot of my books have like the scars, and like they look like staples in them. I don't know why I made like a smiley face on my face, but you could put that on your cup too. You can make it look less like a mimic and more like just a monster. I can do like how to make a book monster. It's really a lot of the same things, but putting in some of that metal just makes it look really cool and adds texture. So you can totally do that. See here, there's a big lump. So I'm just moving it toward the eye because there's actually not a lot of clay right there. And here there's a big crevice, so I'm going to push it down. And I realize when I make clay, I don't know why it's specifically with clay, I tend to make really weird faces. If I do, I'm sorry. Don't like screenshot it or something. Alright. So again, you can do, see if I pull it, I feel like it just flattens it out. Whereas when I roll it, he gets more skin. If anything, you're better off just pushing down a little bit. But again, I personally just love the rolling. You can get a bigger one and it'll probably cover more surface area, but so let me show you again. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. So you can see he already has like a lot of texture. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of the ones I've done, but to me this would be a great book monster, like skin texture, because painting layers and getting really detailed on paint is not my strongest suit. So I kind of complement that then with textured on my clay, because then the textures will naturally pull in any of the dark colors, so I don't have to try painting as hard. So if you're not a good painter, get some texture. And that is my secret. So next time you guys see my stuff, you're going to be like, You textured this because you didn't want to paint it, huh? Shh, don't tell people. Alright. So, for the sake of time, I might go in a little bit later and add a little. I will not be cooking this right away. I want to make sure whoever sees, like, who this is for, and likes the positioning of the eyes and everything. So I will just kind of, I swear this light just keeps dying. I'm going to go move forward for now, just so that way you guys can see the whole process. So this is where it's really up to you what you want to do. I can show you what I do for my mimics because it's supposed to be a barrel mimic with grain, wood grain in it. So personally, I like to take the same tool and I do the eyes and I just gently push down on them because it gives a kinda wood grain look. And again, let me know if you guys want me to zoom in a little more. And let me just try. I don't know if it bothers anybody that it's like kind of upside down. Or, alright. Is it focused? There we go. So, same thing, big eye. I kind of go down so it meets the bottom, or I guess the top of the eyelid. The whole eyelid gets these little divots. If you push down too hard, though, you're going to see all these little lines, which you don't want, because now it looks like, I don't know, you got a bunch of piercings up there, so you might have to go back and reflatten. But again, just making sure it all shows up on here. Especially these little ones, like I just flattened this eye on accident, so I'm going to go in and make it. Again, same thing, if I push too hard, you can always go in with your tools. This tool right here is, I'm sorry, I don't know why not everything is, there you go, going in clear. But this tool is great, because you can always go in and push, and it makes such a huge difference. So, again, you can get like the whole set for just under $10, and they are such a lifesaver. You can use things around the house too, but these are like the tools you have to have out of everything else. See, I don't like this eye, so I'm gonna go in and reform it and flatten it a little, because he was just like, it was swollen almost. Alright, and then this little guy, their little ones are much harder, just push less hard. And same thing, like, see how he looks like he's squinting? We don't want, sorry, a baby squinting eyeball, so I'm going to go in and push to make his eyes look more open. I did have a gentleman who wanted a mimic eye that was scowling, so that's where you could really just push the eye all the way closed and then slowly push it open to form however you want the eye to look. I feel like sometimes making eye gestures, like making the eyes look a certain way, is much more difficult. Mimics! Yay! Yes, we love mimics. So I usually tend to go on the side of caution and go slowly versus just like moving the eye all around. And sometimes my mimics look like a little worried. We don't want worried mimics. Again, I'm getting rid of all these little dots here because they will show up, and again, having a bunch of like little black dots, especially with, again, my texture, I do a lot of black. There we go. So, alright, so same tool. Again, totally however you want to do it, but grains go up and down. Don't think about it, because there's so many times you're literally just going to go and just start lining, just spastically. There's really no rhyme or reason. It's just a very light texture, so you're not, it makes a big difference, but you're not gonna see it a lot. So I'd say just for like starting off, don't even think about it. Don't, because you're just gonna mess yourself up. So as you can see, I'm literally just really quickly going. I'm not pushing too hard. And I'll see if it's on a different angle that you can see that it actually does show up though. Just ever so subtly. And again, this is a very light color, so that, and again, I didn't really like that, so I just wiped it away and redid it. Yes, you want to go, like, again, if it's, in case you didn't know, wood grain is always up and down, so you don't want to go left and right unless that's the, like, the direction you want to go with it, but always try to go up and down. If you pull too hard, for example, here, I smeared it. I don't know why this is like, I smeared it so then I can just go back, push down, fix the smear, and then maybe just do it a little gently. And then you can slowly get harder with it. But so let me see if you guys can. Do you guys see the like wood, like the lines on it a little bit? When you paint it, you will see it a lot better. It makes a huge difference. And then, oh, I grabbed the wrong ones. I use dental tools a lot because they are, obviously they're metal, but they're super easy to clean. They last forever. I drop everything. So, I love dental tools. Again, you can get them really cheap online. You could also just use a knife or, you know, a toothpick. I've used toothpicks. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong tool. There are so many things that I have used around the house before I eventually was like, I really should use this. I usually like you'll find your one thing that you use all the time and you're like, that's all I want to use. Alright, which I can't find that one thing, so I will use this one. Alright. Anybody have any questions at this point? It's all pretty self-explanatory. I think it's just like one of those things when you see someone do it, you're like, I figured that all makes sense. It's just you had to have that one person try it and do it for you. So, take my dental tool. I picked a really, this webcam is driving me crazy, a really sharp one, because what I'm going to do is make slightly deeper ones. Gosh, I'm so sorry guys that this camera is not cooperating. I think it's because my hand keeps going in front of it. So this one you do have to be a little bit more careful. Again, if you mess up, it's totally fine because you can just press down and redo it. So I'm a little bit more like gentle, and again still kind of all over the place, but I just push down a little bit harder because it adds again more texture. I do not really do it on the eyes, and you don't want to push too hard because then I don't know if you can see it, the clay pulls up and you don't want the clay to pull up. So just really gentle little scratches, still going up and down. You can go slower. Personally, I feel like if I go a little faster, I like them more. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better. You can go all the way. Just make it different. Just like wood grain, not all the, you know, lines are evenly spaced or not all the same length. So you just want to be different. If you want to do the same texture, like maybe do 2 here and then 2 here and then 2 here and then switch off. That might be better. My brain again is a perfectionist, and if I don't know necessarily how something should look, or if I don't feel confident in it, then I tend to overthink it. So I try not to overthink it, and it has worked so far. So I always like adding scars to my mimics because they've all been in battle, obviously. So I pick one eye. It's always generally the bottom right for some reason, but I like to give it a little like scar. So I push down, and I'm gonna try to get this to focus so you guys can see it. Alright. I push down a little. You don't need to go crazy unless you want to. And then I give it like a little Harry Potter, like I don't know, a Z, or, you know, and it usually goes less deep. You don't want to pull the clay again. But, you know, and you can do one down here, you can do it on the other eye, but I always usually have one little one that has, oh my gosh, I need to get a new camera. Maybe. Sorry, guys. A little cut in it. So that's for me. And so this would be theoretically me being done. I know roughly how much my cups are, but again, I will take my tool when I'm done and I will cut out this camera's driving me crazy. A shape. And again, this is totally personal, however you want to do it. I like round shapes. Oops. I think I usually use a different tool. So, here we go. And I actually think I cut that one in a way I don't really like it. So if you make a mistake, you can always just massage it back and then just put in your detail back again. So I don't like it to be super, what's it called? I like all the cuts to be very subtle and smooth, like a road. Like you wouldn't just have a road that just stopped all of a sudden. And then, boom. So, and then, again, with your plastic, it's great. You just peel it off. It's like, you know, what is it called? Fruit Loops. No, not Fruit Loops. Fruit Roll-Up. You just pull it. And voila. That is it. I push. Obviously, we just cut it, so I kind of pat down the sides. Alright. Husband, we need a new webcam. This cam's driving me crazy. Alright. Push this side. Again, I don't like any sharp edges. You can always go back in and do more detail. And then you can test it out. Very gently pull it off. For my cup, I should probably push you guys back up so you can see. I like using the clay to hold my cups because otherwise they roll around, so I just take a piece of clay, flatten it a tad, and then I push it down. Voila. And then for me, again, for my cups, I want to get as close to the top as possible. And then, again, I'm not pushing super hard because I don't want to ruin all my detail. But again, if you do, not the end of the world, you can just go back and put in more detail. And there's nothing worse than an uneven face. So get it to wherever your OCD would allow you to put it. I'm using relatively large eyes. So I don't know if you can see, but here, that spacing is going to drive me crazy. You can push down a tad and it'll move, but this is where I would reposition the eyeballs, or the lens of the eyelids, I mean, so that way the eye, there's no spacing, because even if a client would see that, I see it and it's going to drive me crazy. It needs to be perfect. So again, I just don't want it so that the eyeball, even if you didn't resin it, that it would fall out. Again, I would probably use glue, but that's where we're at. What do you guys think? Yeah, so I like it. We could even throw another eye in here if they want me to. I can. We could even go up a little bit more and come back down. I can do that too, but I'll kind of see what the client wants. Alright, teeth. We're going to put this bad boy on the side. My teeth. I'm going to move you guys down. Mimics come in barrels, right? I'm so sorry. Kobe, my chat is like a little behind. So, yes, normally that's what this is supposed to represent, like a little beer barrel. And so that's why it's a dark brown. The one I'm actually making right now is the first one where I've had somebody want the wood grain to be greenish blue. So then it'll actually be a brown greenish blue tint. And then the face is kind of going to be the same thing. So it'll be really different. Awesome video, learned so much. Thanks. Where? I don't know why I can't see all of your guys' chat. Yeah, sorry, Phil, for some reason I can only see where. Let me see. Yeah, the Facebook ones for some reason only, like, they cut it off. So when somebody else writes something under you, I can see what you said. I'm so sorry. Okay, so the teeth, it is 100% what you guys want. I like these big, like, I just like for them to take up like nearly half, you know, 1/3 of the mouth, because that's however you want to do it. So I like to use glow in the dark because I love glow in the dark, and that's just kind of what I've always done. These ones, same thing. This one is not preconditioned, so as you can see, it's like, oops, kind of smooth, but also kind of crumbly. So it also helps when they're warmer. So sometimes, especially like this big pink Sculpey, I will, if we're about to watch a show or something, I'll literally just put it in my hand for a little bit, and it'll help warm it up and soften it. So what I can do, if you guys want, so the video is not super long, I show you some of the teeth and how I make them. And then if you guys have any questions or you want me to try something new, you guys can do that. This is my first like how-to video, so there are a few things that I definitely need to improve. But I appreciate you guys coming and watching and supporting me. This is super great. This is fun. I've been looking forward to it a lot. Alright, so as you can tell, like, it's not as crumbly. It's definitely a lot smoother, so I can work with this. I personally, again, because instead of sitting here, usually my teeth are always about the same size, because I know it works. I like the way it looks. So, being a perfectionist, again, it's tough to get a piece of clay to be exactly the size that I want it on as this Mimic. So, personally, and this is just my OCD, I will make it, sorry, I should probably tell you how I do that. I will make a tooth, but I make a lot of them, and then I put them on. So I take a piece of clay, obviously we all know how to roll them into a ball, right? And then I start by the top, and I just, oh, what happened? Okay. Slowly kind of turn it into like a cone, and you can see it's slowly turning into a tooth. I want sharp, so if it's not sharp, I just keep going until it's a sharp tooth. And I like the ends to be pretty thick because it makes it easier to put on. So you can right away grab your cup and start putting it on there. That's not how I do it, but again, you can do it however you want. And then you can see, say I put it on here, right? And just gently push, because it's not glued, but it will stick on it, and that's kind of how I get it in the oven. And what I do is I take my fingers and I push the end down. So the end, I'm trying to get the camera to focus. The end is flat. I kind of overdid it a little bit. And then I pinch the rest of it down. You don't want like little, like I have like little marks in there. You can just straighten it out. But this way, one side is flatter, then it gets fat, and then it goes down. So I hope that makes sense. and that's kind of what it'll look like. Again, if you want to be like me, you can just make oodles and goodles of them and then put them on in a way that you're like, oh, I like the way this looks. You could even, sorry, my clay in the back's not working. When you're doing this, don't push down here. I have done that once and it sucks. Yeah, I usually make a bunch of them and then I put them on, like, I kind of place them around to see what looks good. Same thing. This is going to probably end up being a smaller one. Oh, you can weigh them if you had like a little scale and be like, oh, this tooth weighs like 1 gram and do it that way, but I don't have time for that. So again, I like this. It's probably one of my medium tooths. It would probably be this guy here. I just barely push down. It's sticky enough that it will stay on the cup. Again, push down on the back and squeeze here, and then kind of do this. And if you don't like the way that they're sitting, like right now they're way too close together for my liking, so you can just gently pull it up and then move it. Personally, I do it all on this plastic first, and I make a face on here. Like I know the top layer, like my one tooth is going to be here, my other tooth is going to be like making a smile, and I'll put them on here first because the more you handle it, the clay is just going to get softer. And this way, you know, even if the spacing's wrong, it doesn't matter because you're going to put it on your cup later. This seems pretty easy. Does everybody get the teeth process? If you end up making your tooth, like for example, this one's too thin, you can actually just squish it back together and make it a little chubby guy. And that way you don't have to like redo your tooth. That would be like this guy right here. Same thing. I always want my teeth to be rounded. If they're square, again, you can do yours however you want. And that's it. So make a bunch of those however you want it. Super toothy, not very toothy, square tooth, however you want to do it. You can have like really thin teeth if you want. I had some that I've done like that. Just depends on what you like. And then the tongue. The tongue is the coolest part. I feel like it's what makes a mimic. Mine always has this was one of my first ones, so it's definitely more subtle. And then as time went on, I started making them crazy. So it's actually really easy to make. And the more you kind of play with it, you can get super creative with the tongue positioning. You always want to make sure, again, if you are not putting resin on it, that your tongue has multiple places on the cup that it's touching. So that way when you glue it on, it has multiple places to actually adhere to the cup. So, or whatever you're doing it with. So, usually I take a big chunk of clay. Oh my gosh, I swear, so sorry. This is driving me crazy. Take a big chunk of clay, make it into a circle. And basically it doesn't have to be the prettiest, but I don't want a bunch of like holes in it. And then I'm going to make it into almost like the teeth really, but it's just much bigger. And I'm just going to make it basically just like the tooth. I want it to be really sharp, but not like as sharp as the teeth, but pretty sharp. And I'm slowly just going to move down. If this was going to be a super long tongue, obviously you're going to want more. But let me see if this will focus. So I'm just going to go ahead because this is a lot of clay and make a super crazy long tongue. So like this is I know looks like a turd, but or a unicorn, like, you know, horn. But this is where I would start out, and then like at every tongue it's going to be flat, obviously. So you slowly start pinching it out, and don't push too hard at the bottom, but you want it to it cannot be this thick. Like it should only be like 1/3 of an inch thick. You can make it however thick you want, but you'll notice later when you start putting it on the cup, like it's gonna make it much thicker. This cup will, or at least mine, do not fit in your traditional cup holders anyways, so I don't really care. Especially the last cups, I just went crazy on them because I feel like it just makes them look a lot cooler. But alright, so this is where I'm at now, and you can see it already, or at least in my imagination, it looks like a tongue already. And this is when I would run up to my kids and go and lick their face. But so what I'm going to do is just show you a few different tools. But as you can imagine, your tongue always has, it goes in, it's an indent. So I take my thumb and I slowly just push on this. And it's basically just building up a lot of detail, so when you put it onto your Mimic, you'll see these drastically. Flip it, push down with your thumb. Personally, I love these two. I use these a lot. So I use this in the middle. You can use your thumb. This just makes it super easy for me because I've done it. But again, you can use your thumb if you want. And then I use the little one here to make it more prominent. Again, you can use your thumb. This is just different tools. And though it looks a little weird now, later on when you add texture and everything, it'll make a huge difference. Now you can smooth it out. And again, make it just like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just stretching it out because it is very thick. Don't judge me. Okay. A toothbrush. A toothbrush is going to be great. I know you're yes. What I'm going to do is, toothbrushes are great for making texture. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to push all over this tongue. And if my camera wasn't so crappy, you would see it. So next time I will have a better camera. So, and I'll show you the final result, like, as I go. Let me see if doing it up close makes a difference. Yeah. As you know, like, our tongues are super textured. We have all of our taste buds and everything. So, anything that you think you're going to see, I go ahead and do, even the bottom. If I end up covering it up, who cares? Don't worry, guys. This is what you don't see on, like, how-to videos. Is everything going wrong. Alright. And I'm going to go all around the tongue. Again, it doesn't really matter how, like, just don't push super hard, but you can go crazy because if you end up not liking the texture, you can go through and just rub your finger over it and it'll either dull it a little bit or you can get it away completely. I do the bottom as well, just because some of my tongues have twists and turns, and I just don't want, like, one side to not be as, I don't know, like, plain, or, like, there's, I don't know, attention to detail, right? Alright, so this is what I have right now. There we go. Maybe, yeah. And then, I don't know if you guys have seen these. These are, like, the little metal bristle brushes. You don't necessarily have to do these, but I feel like it gets I don't know how to just, like, it gets deeper. I'll have to show you on maybe this other camera. I don't know why that light keeps turning off. Let me see if that changes it. There you go. So it makes more single deeper indents. Is it toothbrush, because there's so many so close together, you get a bunch of lines. This one you get singular deep lines, and again, when you overlap those, it just makes such a cool texture. You don't have to use it. You could probably stab it a million times with, like, a needle or something, but that's what I do. And then do a little bit on the back. Cool. And then I'm going to move this. Where can you order the merchandise? So I do have a website that you guys can always go visit, and I have a variety of things. I don't always have the same stuff, so I do custom orders, but we will be moving soon, and then sometimes certain things are just easier to do in bulk. Sorry, Mirror. So it just kind of depends. I don't always have everything on there, but definitely on my my website I have a lot of it. So as you can see, I am flattening this because it was too fat for me, and so all my detail is gone. So I can just go back in and stab it. And my little rolled detail is also gone, but that's fine. A lot of it is just keep going back and redoing it, and that's fine. Alright. Alright. So, I don't have the teeth on here. I always have the teeth on here when I'm doing it because I need to know how much space I have. But for the sake of right now, I will push down on where this is going to be my first contact point. Super important because this is going to be where what everyone sees right away. So, if you're doing all this work, you want everyone to be able to see it. And then from here, you can really go as crazy as you want with your tongue. Try to think of like a natural as unnatural as this is. Like what a natural tongue would look like. So usually I'll play around. I'll bend more because that's where that bend comes in. And if you have to add more detail later because you're like ruining all of your cool artwork, your texture, that's totally fine. But like I like weird noises over here. I like tongue bends. I like that the end is usually I don't know, up. This tongue is a little fat, but I'm sorry, I'm trying to get into my creative space. Yeah. So a lot of it, I guess, is just kind of doing what seems works for you. I feel like usually the tongue is kind of the most fun and like the easiest, but I'm having a hard time kind of visualizing how I want it. Let me see. And again, if it's too thin, too big, too fat, you can always move it around. Like this guy, I think I'm gonna stretch him out. I think that's what's getting me, is he's so fat. So I'm gonna stretch him out a little bit. There we go. And usually the back of the tongue is always like the widest part of your tongue. So you want to make sure that you kind of make that as well. And so I know it looks a little weird, but again, as you start building your detail, it'll start adding more and more, like it'll start looking more and more like a tongue. And that's why, again, I like these little tools, because my fingers are going to be a little bit bigger, and I can easily stick this in here and add more and more detail without having to worry about like my finger squishing certain parts. And then they get really small too, so like I can get into these little crevices and still add texture. Still going with my toothbrush and add it, and then if I have to, I can push this back up. You know, add some divots because the tongue is not perfectly straight, like that. So I know, let me see. It's really hard to see because he's so pink. Let me see. There we go. Can you guys see that okay? So, yeah. Again, when you add the teeth and everything, seeing things that it's like just by itself, makes it not as cool as when you throw everything together. So, and that's it. The last thing, once you have everything on your cup, literally, oh, there we go. I would put all the teeth on. Doesn't matter exactly where on the cup itself you're putting it. The biggest thing is the face has to be where you want it, because this is how it's going to cook, and this is exactly where it's going to fit later on because of the way the cup is shaped. If it was one solid cylinder, it wouldn't matter as much, but this one is very shape different, so everything is going to kind of fit like it's on here. The teeth, you kind of want it in the position, but because they're so small, it doesn't really matter, and they're usually almost in the same area. So once I am ready and I want to cook it, I will put everything on the cup where I want it, and again, a lot of this will stick. And then you don't have to, but you can use this Sculpey clay softener. Again, my horrible camera, but it's Sculpey clay softener. You can find it at like Hobby Lobby or anywhere. And you just take like a little paintbrush and you dab it on. Basically, you want to cover everything so that way you're kind of wiping it on there, like painting it on there. And what it does is it actually takes away any of your fingerprints. Yeah, where's the front? Here. It'll take away any of your fingerprints that you have on there. And especially on the tongue where you're going to be touching it a lot to get it into place. It really makes a difference. It smooths out all of the inconsistencies, and if you have a couple like flyaways for your clay, it'll fix that as well. And then you just cook it. I cook mine like this for about 15 minutes. Obviously, I would remove this piece of chunk that you have holding it. I lay it flat just in case any of the pieces are kind of loose. For 15 minutes, I will very carefully take it out with gloves because this is going to be really hot. And then let it sit. Once the cup is cool enough for me to hold, I will just take my fingers and slowly and gently pull this up, the face, and it'll just pop off. The tongue will easily come off, the teeth easily will come off. This is the only one you don't want to bend it because it will still be soft. And then just lay it down, not on the stove, but somewhere else a little cooler, and let it cool for 10 or 15 minutes. And then you'll notice it's ready. You can then, depending again, if you're just cooking it like this and you're not putting any resin on it, then I would use like E6000 is my favorite glue. Put it on there and it'll stick. And again, if you're going to do resin like I did, I would paint your cup whatever color you want, then glue the pieces on, and then you can put your resin over it, especially because it turns. As long as you put enough resin on the tongue, the bigger, thicker pieces, then it'll be totally fine. And that is it. That is exactly how I make these cups. I don't know if an hour and 14 minutes was quick enough. It usually takes me a while to make cups, which is why, yeah, I don't like usually have a whole bunch out all at once. So I don't know if I would love your guys' feedback. If you guys feel like these type of videos are too long, maybe have some pre-made for you guys so that way you can see them in action. Or yeah, I'd love your guys' feedback on that. And because it did take so long to do one, I probably won't do the other one online, or maybe the next one will be for Brett. If he would like to do another one online, I can always do another video later, just so if you have all your pieces, all your clay ready and you want to do it at the same time, and if you have any questions while you're doing it, you can ask me. I'm cool with it. Otherwise, I think I'll probably do like a smaller piece next time. I probably maybe bit off more than I could chew with the cups, but I can do a smaller piece so that way, yeah, the video is not so long. So I hope everybody had found this educational and helpful. I'm going to turn this off because this is like bothering me. Yay. Found it educational, helpful. If you end up ever making a cup, I would love to see it. Please tag me. Even if it's not a monster, if it's just something else, it'd be super cool. You guys see my little gremlin? Isn't he cute? Oh, I love him. Okay, sorry, I digress. So, yeah, that's it. Have a great night. I hope I didn't bore you guys all to sleep. But, yeah. Have a wonderful night, guys. Thanks so much for the support. I appreciate everybody who logged on, shared the love, and I hope you guys have a great night. God bless. Enjoy your weekend, and have a wonderful day off on Monday if you have one. Alright, bye, guys. Yay, I'm going to figure out... I think that was the problem. My screen was... There you go. My screen wasn't fully up. So, yay, thanks, Paul Amazing. Aw, thank you, Angelique. Angelique, yeah. Sorry, it's been a long day. So, thanks. Yeah, I guess somehow my screen wasn't fully up. It's been a day. So, appreciate it, guys.